What is up, guys? I am back with a new video, and today we're going to be looking over Khufra. A lot of you have been asking on a tutorial for Khufra because Khufra has now gone on top of the meta recently. So right now is like the perfect time to teach you guys how to play Khufra, what's the correct build and all that, some tips and tricks. And for now, I only played 25 games this current season and I have 80% win rate on him, so I've gotten like a good grasp on how to play Khufra. So I'll teach you guys on how to play him. Let's go first with the let's go to our custom game and look at the mechanics. Alright, let's talk about Khufra's mechanics, and the first thing we're going to be talking about is his first skill. So what does his first skill do? His first skill is pretty much you charge it up, and then the more you charge it up, the further it goes. And then when you land on heroes, it actually knocks them up for quite a short amount of time, okay? And if you don't know, if someone's blocking you, even if you charge up, you don't go over heroes, by the way. If someone's blocking you, you will hit them and block that first skill, by the way. So make sure you know that, okay? So you don't go over the hero. As long as your arrow it hits an enemy hero, they will block it and they will get knocked up. So keep that in mind. That is very important when using Khufra and when engaging with Khufra. Now, let's talk about his second skill. What his second skill does is, if any heroes, like let's say, imagine Harith, Kari, or Chu. They all have dashes, right? Kari has the second skill dash. Harith has the ulti that he can dash over and over again everywhere. Chu has the second skill dash as well. You can actually use your second skill. This is going to be your main damage. This is what you want to max out first. Second skill first, and interrupt them from using their blinks, using their dashes, and avoid them from getting away. So let's say Harith just ulted and you're right on top of him. When you're using your second skill and you're on a ball state, he's not gonna be able to get away. He will get interrupted. So that is really good. That's the reason why Khufra is picked so often in this current meta. Same with Guinevere. So if Guinevere second skills you, like in the middle of her second skill, you're in your ball state, it will get cancelled. Same with Esmeralda. If Esmeralda ultis and dashes towards you and you're in your bow state, it will get cancelled. And that's why, yeah, Khufra is in the meta right now. Like, he might be better than Grock in the current meta right now. So, and let's talk about the ulti. So what your ulti does is it pretty much pushes people away depending on where you aim. It could even work even if they're behind you, since, you know, it's a circle. It's as long as they're around your circle, the blue circle around you, they will get hit like that. See? So as long as they're in that circle, they will get hit. You can even do, yeah, they can be behind you and you'll still get hit. So keep that in mind, and that's a very important information as well. But the main way you want to use your ulti is to hit them on the wall, because when you ulti them into a wall, they get stunned for a short amount of time. So let's try to push Zilong right here. So pushing Zilong right there, he gets stunned for like a short amount of time. Okay, and then let's talk about Khufra's passive, which is really important. So what you want whenever you're using Khufra's passive is when your basic attack is all charged up. We need to get damage first, so I can demonstrate this. When your basic attack is all charged up, as you can see here, enhances the next basic attack on the bottom, 6, and it counts down all the way to 12 maybe, or 10, I'm not sure. I think 12. It counts down all the way to 12. Once that counts down all the way to 12, when you basic attack, you get health back, and you do extra damage on your basic attack. So that's a lot of sustain whenever you're using Khufra. Okay? That's how his passive works. And your passive works depending on how much HP you have as well. So the more HP you have, the more it'll hurt. And same with your second skill. Your second skill is based off your HP as well. The more HP you have, the more damage your second skill will have. Okay, so now let's go over some tips and tricks. Now for the tips and tricks. The first thing you want to know about Khufra is his combo. So what is his full combo? His full combo is pretty much first skill, ulti into a wall, and then second skill, alright? And you could petrify after that even while you're doing your second skill. So let me just demonstrate real quick. You can do this, ulti, and then second skill, and then while you're second skilling, you can use petrify even to keep him staying there and crowd controlled for a really long time. So that is your main combo. First skill, ulti into a wall. Second skill, try not to ulti like I mean, you could also do it to ulti away from a wall. Also do it, like, it depends on the situation. You can set up by pushing towards your teammates. You don't really have to hit a wall. But the best scenario is if you ulti the enemies into a wall, okay? That's the best scenario possible. So what other tips can I give you? Some other tips is if you're right next to the bush, like the edge of the bush, they can actually see you charging up your first skill, by the way. They can see you charging up your first skill. So do not try to engage like next to the edges of the bush, like right here. If you're really close at the edge, they will see it. And I don't know if it's a bug or a glitch or that's how it's supposed to be, but if you're deep into, like, if you're deep onto, like, away from their perspective, like this, like, they shouldn't be able to see this, right? This is really, really far. That's a really good engage. And then ulti, and then second skill, petrify, right? So yeah, make sure you know that they can actually see you charging up sometimes when you're right next to the edge of the bush. Another tip is, how do you want to say this? For your sustain, I already explained this earlier, but if you guys skipped it, for your passive, make sure you use your passive correctly. Always use your basic attack passive for sustain because it gives you a lot of HP back. So looking down here, look at the box, it counts down all the way to 12. After it counts down to 12, and then you auto attack anything, minion, heroes, or anything, it will give you HP back. So that can actually save your life many times if you use it correctly. Okay, so you get 1,000 HP back. Did you? I don't know if you saw, but that's very, very helpful when you're trying to run away and they think they killed you, but now you have your passive. You auto attack them once, boom, you have health, a little bit of health back. That's very, very useful. Another tip that I can give you guys is, if Khufra is in the mid-air while using his first skill, you will not hit the hero in front of you. Remember I told you, anybody that's in front of you will get hit with your first skill. Except if you're in mid-air already. So you need to actually estimate the range of his first skill when he's just, you know, like if you're right next to them, that's fine. It blocks you because you're not in the air yet. But if you're in the air, like you're in the middle of the air, it will go over them, you see? But if you're not in the air, you can still jump over them. You can still jump at them, you know what I mean? So that's very, very important. So what I usually do is I either charge up to hit them with the maximum amount of range, but it's really, really hard because sometimes you do go over them, like that happened earlier. Make sure, what I do is, where the arrow is, that's where you want to hit all the time, because that's where you land, right? You don't want to go over them. Yeah, you don't want to go over them. Try to hit the tip of the arrow to where the enemies will be. That's pretty much my tip to you, so you don't go over them and misplay. Okay, see, you always go over them when the arrow is a lot further. But if they're right next to you, just press it. Just press it once, and then boom, they get knocked up right away. Okay, so those are the tips that I can give to you. Another tip is, lastly, is if there's a Haris ulting, you need to go on top of them. Just go on top of them and stay. It's really hard to demonstrate since I need I need someone with me to demonstrate it. But for the gameplay, I will show you how to do that. When the Harit ultis, try to stay next to that Harit as much as you can, so he's not able to dash around. Anybody that you're right next to, your second skill, you need to just stay in front of them so they can't dash. Just stay on top of them. So what I usually do is I go on top of them and then I go in circles, since they get slowed as well. They get slowed a little bit when you're using your second skill. So that's really good, right? So that's the tips and tricks for you guys. Let's go over his spells, equipments, and abilities. Alright, let's talk about the emblems first. The first row, you're gonna have to get Vitality, 3 points on that, 200 HP. We're taking advantage of Khufra's passive and his second skill because it scales on his HP. That's why we want as much HP as possible. So you keep that, Vitality, level 3, and then Inspire, you're gonna get it for cooldown. You're gonna be able to use your first skill more often, second skill more often, and your ulti more often. And it's gonna be an addition to the Thunder Belt, the build I'm gonna give you later, right? Don't worry about it. I'll put a timestamp on the description below. So this talent set has 10% cooldown in overall, And then plus Thunderbelt. Thunderbelt has a 10% cooldown, so that's in total 20% cooldown, right? That's very, very good, and it'll really help you set even more your first skill. You don't have to wait too much, because usually when you don't have cooldown on his first skill, it takes way too long to set some other time, alright? Now for the last row, his talent is gonna be Brave Smite, which gives you more HP back whenever you crowd control an enemy. It's kind of like Chu. When you knock somebody up, you get HP back. So same thing with Khufra. If you knock somebody up with your first skill, you get HP back. If you stun somebody into a wall, you get some HP back if this talent is not on cooldown. Remember, this has a 10-second cooldown. And it's really good to bait people, especially with your passive. When you basic attack somebody with your enhanced ability basic attack, you get HP back from that as well. So with this talent, you get some additional sustain on top of that, which is super, super good for Khufra. Makes you even harder to kill and more annoying, and you can actually outplay people with it. Alright, so next, let's talk about the spells. For the spells, the only spells that I use for Khufra will be Petrify. You could also use Sprint, Flicker, and Purify at very, very, very it's very, very situational, like I said. Like, because if Khufra gets knocked up while he's at his second skill state, his second skill gets cancelled right away. So maybe Purify sometimes can work, but most of the time I do use Petrify, so I get as much crowd control time as possible, right? Sprint, whenever you're trying to chase somebody with Sprint and your second skill is up, like let's say Harith, he's usually faster than you when he slows you with his second skill. But if you have the Sprint and then use your second skill, he won't be able to dash away if you're on top of him, right? That sounds kind of wrong, but forget about it. Flicker is also very, very useful sometimes when you're trying to bait someone. Like let's say Harith got away, right? You could flicker on top of them with your second skill, and then you'll be able to get him back, and Harith won't be able to dash away. So that could be useful as well, but most of the time in general, you're going to want to use Petrify most of the time. I've even seen people, top Khufra players, use Execute on Khufra, like they do for Grock, since Khufra does deal a decent amount of damage. So Execute could actually work as well. So, but Petrify to play your tank role and do as much crowd control as possible, right? So now let's talk about his equipment. For Khufra's equipment, the only thing that you need to worry about is the first row. Ignore the second row, ignore the third row. Those are the recommended builds. The first row is the only one that I change. So first thing you want to get, assist boots, of course. Whenever you're getting assists, more gold for you, and of course for the HP. Again, taking advantage of Khufra's passive and second skill that scales with his HP. The more HP you have, the more damage it does, the more HP you get back from your passive. Second item, the first main core item, is Curse Helmet. This is really good because whenever people are close to Khufra, that's additional damage. Khufra might deal more damage than Grock. It's very, very close. Since Khufra does deal damage over time when Grock deals burst damage, because his first skill and then ulti combo really, really hurts. But for Khufra, his second skill is really, really annoying, and then whenever people are close to you, man, they get melted. I wouldn't say melted, but it deals a decent amount of damage. As for a tank, it deals a lot of damage. So it's also good for wave clearing whenever you're alone on the lane. Gives you magical defense, of course. Mages are stronger early game, like I've said on my previous tutorials. Now, the second main core item will be Thunderbelt. This gives you 10% cooldown reduction, like I said from when we were talking about the emblems. That's going to be an equal to 20% cooldown reduction if you add the emblem with it. Consider assuming that you have level 60 emblems. If you don't have level 60 emblems, it'll be like 15% cooldown reduction or something like that. This is going to be your armor item. Gives you more HP, and it gives you mana regen, so you can spam your second skill over and over again. And then it also enhances your basic attack and adds more crowd control. That's why it's so good on Khufra. It adds true damage on your basic attack, and it adds a slow on your basic attack after you use your first skill or second skill every 1.5 seconds, which is super, super good, right? Now, like I said, take advantage of Khufra's HP and sustain. A lot more HP, 1550 HP from the Sky Guardian helmet for the third main core item. And also when you're getting assists, it regenerates your health, so you don't have to keep recalling over and over again. For the fourth main core item, immortality. So if you get caught, your teammates could have a chance to save you. If you misengage, immortality will be there to save you if your teammates are there close to you. And lastly, you need more armor, since usually you can actually change this to anti-cuirass or brute force breastplate. It depends. It really depends. If you want to be as tanky as possible, go for anti-cuirass. If you want to be like more annoying, because whenever you're using your second skill, this gives you more this item, brute force breastplate, gives you more movement speed, and it's harder to get away from you, right? And that's why I prefer brute force breastplate. But anti-cuirass could definitely work if you would like, all right? So that could be, those are two alternative items that gives you HP and physical defense, because marksmen are really, really strong early game. So you can either, you can choose. It's situational depending on what your playstyle is. Go for that. So that's the last item. Now let's go over the gameplay. Alright guys, let's go over the gameplay, and I'm gonna talk about what I'm doing over here. So I'm gonna be with Claude, since Diggy decided to go mid with Lunox. So I ended up being with Claude. Usually I go mid, but that's fine. I'm solo queuing, so I don't know these people, and it's pretty risky to play tank on solo queue, but when you're using Khufra, it's actually pretty fun and definitely doable with Khufra and Grock. So those are the top tanks right now, Khufra and Grock. And of course, just gonna wave clear here. This is pretty safe so far. Just helping Claude farm, making sure he gets all the last hits. And I use my passive to get some HP back, like I said. Use it for sustain. That's really good. Letting Claude last hit, make sure your carries get all the farm. I'm looking around, looking at where the enemies could possibly be. And I'm just staying on a bush. I'm just trying to camp the bush. And I told you guys earlier, I don't know why these guys are not even going for the, what's it called? They can't see my first skill when I'm charging up on the bush. But when I told you guys earlier, sometimes they actually see it when you're really, really close to the edge of that bush when you're charging up. And I don't know why he didn't react to it. I can't really tell if he knows that I was charging up or not. I don't know if he noticed or if he actually saw it. But it did work. It did work anyway. So I'm just here. He probably saw me charging up. That's why he's trying to back away. He's scared. I'm just gonna stay inside the bush, and they don't ever know if I'm gonna jump or not. And that's why I just hide on the bush. It's very, very good to use the bushes whenever you're trying to engage, so they don't know that it's coming, right? It's pretty much a element of surprise. That's what you're trying to go for. Again, using my basic attack enhance to get some HP back, a lot of sustain from Khufra, using my usual build. We see that Granger's free farming at top, so I go back up there and see if he's gonna overextend. So he realizes that we were about to rotate here, and he backs off. Look at this, he backs off. So pretty good what's it called, instinct from Granger right there, realizing that we were about to go up there. Sustaining with my enhanced basic attack again, getting a little bit of HP back. That really helps, especially when there's no fights going on right now. And I believe right here we might go for Turtle, since we see a lot of them are bot lane. Maybe not yet, I don't know. We see a lot of them are bot lane. There's 3 people here, but Granger might go for the steal. So I think we decide to actually dive. I don't know if we're gonna get him, I forgot. But I do the combo again. Like I said, see, first skill ulti, second skill. That is the combo right there. And make sure they hit the wall. Always ulti towards the wall as much as possible. It's very, very rare that you want to ulti in the air towards your teammate. Very, very rare. Okay, so and also, if you guys skip the mechanics tutorial, your ulti works even if they're behind you, as long as they're really, really close. So since we got Granger, we decided to do Turtle. But Diggy is finally gonna respawn and help us right here. He didn't even tank for me. I'm very, very low. He needs to tank for me, since I'm low already, and Granger's already he's already harassing me. And I decided to come in here, but I didn't know Gord was right here. I decided to go in to avoid them from getting the turtle, but Gord still ended up getting it. So that was a mistake from me, I guess. I didn't know Gord was behind the turtle pit. And my teammates ended up dying as well, so that was definitely a mistake for me. I was just trying to engage to avoid them from contesting the turtle so Claude can get it, but it didn't work out my way. So, but that's all right. You know, I want to show you guys my mistakes as well, not just not just a perfect gameplay. I've had a perfect gameplay with Khufra before with no deaths, but I don't like showing things like that. And look at that. When you're on your second skill state, like I said earlier, you can interrupt Guinevere from jumping if they're in midair. And that's why Khufra is so good in this current meta. Even Granger's second skill, you can actually stop Granger from dashing away if you have your second skill activated. Alright? So every single dash. Now, Flicker sometimes. Flicker you can actually do sometimes if you're really, really close to them. And it has happened before. There was an Esmeralda trying to flicker away. But since I was so close to her, like I was right on top of Esmeralda while I was using my second skill, she was not able to flicker away. I was able to cancel her flicker. And right here, I'm using my second skill so I can get away from Guinevere because I know that she has knockup. But luckily, she was not able to knock me up. And I was able to survive. I was able to escape and get away from that. All right. I see that they're trying to dive this tower, so I'm right here trying to bait them, just making sure not. See, look at that. That's how you use Khufra. Just make sure, protect your carries. I baited them into getting the Claude, and they definitely got outplayed right there. They thought that they had Claude for free. They thought that I recalled and back, but no, I was waiting on the bush. I first skill they had knock up, and then Guinevere cannot go in since I have my second skill activated. So I counter her. She cannot engage with her knock up whenever I have my second skill next to her, okay? So that is why. I go in, I get kind of greedy right here, but I use my sidestep skills to get away from this Gord ulti, and he ended up not killing me. So that's good, right? But I'm going to recall to get more HP. I told my teammates that Gord doesn't have any more ulti, so that should be an easy kill. Once they saw that, they were like, alright, Gord doesn't have ulti, we should be safe to dive. And he's really, really, really frustrated right there. He's frustrated. And keep in mind, this is solo. This is solo queue, so I'm playing tank as a solo. I'm just trying to engage for my team, trying to protect them as much as possible. I see Guinevere right there, so I think he sees me charging up if I'm too close to the bush, I believe. Let's see. I do hit him. I'm going to do a decent amount of damage to put some pressure. I stun him, but I don't think I kill him. I'm not sure. I do kill him. Wow. Okay, so that engage actually worked. I forgot that I actually killed him because thankfully Lunox actually followed up. Usually they don't follow up, right? And I actually counter Lemert as well. Look at, he's trying to dash away, but my second skill blocks him. And very nice ult from Diggy to get away from that situation. Yeah, the Gord ultied, but Diggy's ulti just negates the Gord ulti for now since it's still early game, considered early game. I see Granger very pushed forward, and he's not going to be able to get away from this because he got time skip, and I have second skill right in front of him. Like I said again, your second skill counters all the dashes that people have. So that's super good. That's why Khufra is like top tier tank right now next to Grock. He is probably arguably better than Grock, but you know, at some situations, Grock is definitely better since Grock can invade and put a lot more pressure than Khufra early game. And I go in right here. That was not a good decision by me. And again, Gord sidestep the ulti, so not a lot of damage coming in from Gord. Thank God. I don't know what he's building, but he was not able to kill me even after the fact that he stunned me a little bit and he ultied right in front of me. I just had to sidestep a little bit. Guinevere actually knocked me up right there, but good. Thank God Diggy was his ulti was available, so I was safe, right? Once Diggy ultis and Guinevere tries to do a combo, it will get negated. So now we're back at it again with my usual build: Sky Guardian helmet, Curse helmet, all that stuff. So if you notice, whenever I try to charge up my first skill, I'm usually inside a bush, right? I'm usually inside a bush. I don't usually... It's very rare for me to use my first skill outside the bush, since I don't want them knowing that I'm about to go in. So I try to use it inside the bush. But you can also engage outside the bush. I'm not telling you that you can't. You can also engage outside the bush. But just for element of surprise, I always try to engage with my first skill inside the bush. So right here, I try to go in front of Lunox to try and stop Belric from going in. I get Belric right there with the ulti. make sure that he doesn't get away. I didn't mean to KS it. I didn't want Belric to get away since he was so tanky, so I had to stun him into the wall. Using my passive again to get some HP back, and look at the Sky Guardian helmet going to work. The HP, I have full HP again without even recalling. No need to recall, and that's what's so good about Khufra. His sustain is super good. If you do his combo correctly, his crowd control time is super good. And right here, I'm just gonna wait inside the bush and look for a setup and engage for my teammates. We see that we're pretty far ahead, so we're gonna do Lord. I'm gonna tank it a little bit. Diggy put some bombs over there, so we know if people are gonna come in. And I think we get this with no contest at all. I go towards Guinevere to make sure that she doesn't go in. So I use my second skill again. Look at it, cancels her second skill, and she's dead. It just counters her completely. This is why not a lot of Guinevere players play Guinevere whenever there's a Khufra. And I was about to ulti Leomord into that wall, but he died before it happened. So that's why I couldn't do it. I see Gord ulting, and I knocked up right away. Because if you guys did not know, Gord's ulti can get cancelled when you knock him up. So that's another way of utilizing Khufra's first skill. Canceling Claude. You can actually also cancel Claude ulti as well with Khufra's first skill. You can cancel Claude ulti. So when Claude goes in and then you knock him up, unless he purifies correctly, then you're kind of screwed. If he purifies on time before you knock him up, then you cannot cancel his ulti. And I get caught right here. I'm pretty sure I die. I try to get away, but there's way too many people. I actually messed up the ulti. I was supposed to ult them towards the wall, and you heard me on stream. I messed that up. Yeah, I told you guys you're supposed to ult towards the wall so they get stunned, but I ulted away from the wall, and it didn't stun them at all. But that's alright. Again, mistakes happen. Waiting for my... Let's skip this. Let's skip my death timer. Alright, we're back. So it's faster. So the Lord is pushing. Super Minions, they actually killed the Lord already. And the Super Minions are still pushing though. So my teammates are actually doing really decent for this game. They were really decent for this game. I didn't have any problems with them mechanically and decision making wise. I don't even know how I hit Belric right there. I thought that was like the longest range, and I think that's GG. Yeah, there's nothing else to see here. So let's look at the stats and let's look at the items that I built and all that. Let's see here. And yes, this was a solo queue rank game. If you guys are wondering, to make sure, yeah, I get an extra star right there. Make sure. Get that MVP real quick.
MVP, I'm not Australian. Khufra is so good, guys.
Yeah. So let's look at the stats. And look at the stats right here. I actually outdamaged Claude and outdamaged Lunox, and I outdamaged Diggy. The only one that had more damage than me was Hayabusa, who was solo farming at the side lane. So imagine that, like a tank is outdamaging a carry on solo queue. That's pretty good, and I tanked 41% of the team's damage. That is super good, guys. Like super insane, and that's why Khufra is top tier meta right now. Okay. So guys, if you guys learned something and if you guys enjoyed the content, please make sure to subscribe and like this video. And also, don't forget, if you have any suggestions or feedback, comment those below. If you have like, you know, different builds for Khufra or constructive criticism about my build, then feel free to comment those below. I don't have a problem with those. Just make sure to respectfully put them over there. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.